In Real Simple News, hosted by Cale McCullough, captain of the Kabuki Starship. And today is Tuesday, February 25th. And today's top news story here, U.S. health officials are urging citizens to prepare for the coronavirus spreading. Yes, you heard that right. The coronavirus is in the United States. It's spreading. It's untrackable because it spreads like the flu. So I hope that you all are prepared to get with a month's worth of food, because the problem is if we have a major outbreak and people start dying, like, we're going to start quarantining people. And, you know, in China, they put... China's kind of crazy, but they got 50 million people on lockdown. Like, that's a lot of people on lockdown. So, better worry about that coronavirus. Oops. Oh. Shoot. Sorry, that wasn't supposed to be like that. What are the other top story news here? Sorry about that. Oh yeah, and that was the CDC that was telling people to prepare. Other top news stories here. Upbeat Harvey Weinstein at Manhattan Hospital day after sex crimes conviction. What exactly was going on with him? Former movie producer, rapist, went on Tuesday, remained at Manhattan Hospital a day after being convicted of sexual assault. Now, I do believe a number of his charges got thrown out in some embarrassing thing for rape advocates. Some of them are fake claims, but apparently he got convicted. That's a good thing. I think personally a lot of that rhetoric revolving Harvey Weinstein was just charged. It was like, it's like you do something, like he did something bad and wasn't like the most horrible worst thing. Some of it was pretty bad, but a lot of it's like made up. People like him, like, because some of his victims are really love him still. I don't know a lot about the case though, so I'm not going to try to comment on it. All I know is that if anybody else in the entire world had done this, nobody else would get on TV. It's just like a bunch of rhetoric surrounding it. They're like, because like people get pissed off about it, and then when people get pissed off, they go into predictable camps and they click on your article and they read your article. What else is going on? France reports 2 new coronavirus infections, one returning from Italy. Goldman City among banks curbing Italy trips over coronavirus fears. I think I forgot to say, these are all Reuters top news headlines. Austria seals off Innsbruck hotel after reporting its first 2 coronavirus cases. And that's a hotel in the Alpine tourist hub. It's the 11th day in coronavirus outbreak in northern Italy. Whee! Let's have a coronavirus party. Let's like get hats that look like coronaviruses and just celebrate our death, like Dios de los Muertos, right? I don't think that we should be discounting this virus, though. This isn't like your run-of-the-mill flu virus. This is a coronavirus. It lasts on surfaces for up to a month. Like, usually flus only last on surfaces for like 3 days. This one, flus have an infection death rate of 0.01, but that's because we're immune to it. This coronavirus is a new virus. It hasn't mutated yet. This is the first time we've had this. There's been the SARS. It's mutated, and then they put the outbreak down. This time didn't happen. It's stays on surfaces for a month because it is a coronavirus, and the reason for that is because of the shape of the virus. If you look at it, it looks like a mine in an ocean, like a ship mine. It's a circle thing with some things looking out of it that look like detonator things on a mine, and they're very. They spread. It spreads very fast. It spreads like the flu. That's what you got to be worried about. And the death rate is 2.3 to 2.5. That's what is that? 100,000 times higher than the flu. Yeah, you better worry, buddy. So you should probably go stock up on food. I'm gonna put some links in the down below to emergency food rations on Amazon. If you want to click on those and buy some through Amazon, that'll help fund the channel. I'm personally going to buy some for myself because they are a lifesaver. And actually, if you look at it, they're like 240 meals for $4. And yeah, they're not going to be that good of meals, but it's pretty cheap food. So, not going to hurt if you're poor. You got to live on, these food rations for a little bit. You're going to actually save some money here, actually, even if you're poor. So why not? Buy them through the Amazon affiliate link below. In other news, surging Sanders to be in the crosshairs at South Carolina Democratic debate. Surging front-runner, the communist Bernie Sanders, whose supporters and his staff support putting Republicans in gulags, and they drive vans into voter registration booths and set buildings on fire. He's the front-runner. Welcome to 2020, you guys. Apparently hindsight's just completely out the window, right? Who cares about what happened before with communism? Just go Bernie, bros. In other news, TPSB faults Tesla U.S. regulators in deadly 2018 autopilot crash. The chairman of the National Transportation Safety Board on Tuesday criticized Tesla Inc.'s lack of system safeguards in fatal autopilot. Yeah, I could see how you could find him as maybe negligent because, he is selling these cars that allow you to have this autopilot feature and then allows people to turn it off. And that, you're going to you could run afoul of some negligence stuff with that because they allowed it to happen. But you also got to look at you do have to take into account the number of accidents that have been prevented from it. If the number of accidents that are prevented from it exceed the number of accidents that happen on it, accidents happen, dude. Stupid shit happens. It obviously was human error. The car was at error, but it was human error that caused the car to be driving in that situation in the first place. So you do have to look at that and take that into account. What's this next headline? Swiss authorities, sorry, I should have stated this one a little bit earlier. Swiss authorities confirmed their first case of the coronavirus. A 70-year-old man tested positive for coronavirus in the southern canton of Ticino on the border of Italy. Swiss health authorities, I don't know, I think it said. But that's it for top headlines. Let's go over here and check out some more headlines over here on the other computer. All right. What else we got here in the news? First headline from Philip Blip. I don't know. Who is this? Who is this? They don't say their name. Oh, it's the Washington Post.
And it says some blah, blah, blah bullshit from Jeff Bezos. And I'm going to move on to a source that's not too cowardly to state their name. How about the New York Post? It says Mike Bloomberg poll says Bernie Sanders would jeopardize 42 Dems. The gloves are off ahead of Tuesday's Democratic presidential campaign in South Carolina. Mike Bloomberg's campaign released an internal poll claiming that Bernie Sanders would jeopardize the re-election of 42 House Democrats in battleground districts and therefore the party's majority rule of the chamber if the self-described Democratic Socialist, most people would describe him as socialist, becomes the party's nominee for president. Yeah, Bernie Sanders is definitely not the guy that you want to be running on the Democratic ticket. His supporters are blatantly talking about putting Republicans in gulags, and they're committing terrorist activities. I'm sorry, Bernie. Bro, you gotta go. I don't know what's up with these people. Like, I mean, look at how old he is. Like, let's zoom in here. Wow. Wow. Dude, it's like Jurassic Park over here, dude. They got dinosaurs. Damn. Yeah, vote for old white dude. You know what? Honestly, I'm not talking shit on the old white dude anymore because I did look at the history of presidents and their ages. I looked into it to see whether or not the age of the president actually had a significant impact on their legacy and how they were viewed as a president. Actually doesn't really actually turn out to be the case. It's kind of a gambit there. So yeah, let's not be ageist. Let's not discriminate against people because you don't want to be discriminated against. Trust me, I've been discriminated against. It's not fun. Oh, and then all the black people are like, oh, is you white dude, privileged white dude? It's like, dude, I ain't no goddamn privileged white dude. If I was a privileged white dude, I would have a privileged white girlfriend and a privileged white car. But I do not have either of those things. I am driving a beat-up old 90s CRV, Honda CRV, and I hear they're really easy to repair, so I think I'm stuck with this car for a little while because it hasn't broken down yet because the oil was changed on a regular basis. What does this have to do about Bernie Sanders? Like, what is this dude talking about? I am not a privileged white dude, but you know what? You Democrats just keep on going on there supporting communism because it's just going to be or socialism, because it's just going to be your downfall because there's a problem with socialism. There's a problem with it. Socialism causes the bottom feeding population to explode because they now have an access to a food source and they can just continue to not try. And, well, I mean, yeah, it helps people out. Some does help some people out. But for men, it's like getting castrated. A man who is on socialism is not going to be a desired partner in today's society. No, they're not. Actually, I'm going to, turn up my mic here a little bit because yesterday it was just a little bit low. So, Mike Bloomberg, I mean, you do have to give him a good, he might, you do have to give him some credit for how good he's doing in the race, considering how late he got into it. And I usually will sit up here and talk shit about Mike Bloomberg, but I do like giving credit to my opponents too, also, where I do believe that it's due. And he is actually doing a good job of sneaking his way in the stage. Next story from Reuters. U.S. Senate Republicans overwhelmingly support Barr, McConnell. U.S. President Donald Trump's Attorney General William Barr, who still had the support of Republicans in the Senate who control the upper chamber of Congress. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said in the news conference on Tuesday. Next story from Newsweek. America has 30 million masks, needs 30 million healthcare workers for fighting coronavirus. HHS Secretary says, oh shit. I think I need to order some masks too. I'm going to do that after this. I'm going to order a bunch of masks and gloves because I'm not particularly interested in the giving the coronavirus to my mom or my child or getting it from them. My mom works at a hospital, so if she gets it, I could get it too from being in contact with her. So yeah, you should stock up too. I'm going to put a bunch of links to stuff like down below on Amazon if you're looking for emergency materials. Apparently it's going to be hard to find masks. So I hope y'all are prepared to stay cooped up in your house for a month because it's coming. There's nothing that you can really do to stop the coronavirus. There is a full-blown pandemic heading our way. Any one of us could die. The ones who are at greatest risk are older people and young children. So you need to minimize your traveling. You need to maximize your cleanliness, and that stuff stays on the surface for months, or a month. So yeah, this is going to be scary. It's our first pandemic, our first big event, probably even of our generation, actually. I can't think of any other greater tragedy that could have befallen the people. 2.5% of America is what? There's like 310 million times 0.025. That's like 7,775,000 people could die here in the next upcoming months. So that's an emergency. That's I live in Oregon, and the state of Oregon is like, what is it, like 7 million people or something? Like 4 million people. So like, double the size of my state, just dropping over dead. That right there is an extremely, extremely scary thing because we humans do not have any sort of immunity to this. Like, yeah, we have immunity to the cold and the flu, but we don't have immunity to coronavirus. Excuse me, because it's been in animals. It hasn't been affecting us, and I think it has affected. Hold on. So no, people have been getting coronaviruses, but it doesn't. Or no, it just jumped from animals to human, right? Let's look it up. That's one thing about my news show. I'm not just reading a script. I'm actually just kind of winging it here. And I'm a little bit of a nerd, so I will sit here and look it up here for you. Let's not take my memory off of it. Here's that coronavirus shape I was telling you about, with the things that kind of look like they're like detonators for mines. So a coronavirus is one of many viruses that causes disease in mammals and birds. In humans, coronaviruses causes respiratory tract infections that are typically mild, such as common cold, through rare forms such as SARS, MERS, and COVID-19, that's the one that we're looking at right now. It can be lethal. And so, yeah, it just jumped from mammals and birds to humans. It had done this 2 other times. I think the first time was with MERS, and then the second time was with the SARS. That was the most recent one. I remember that one. And then the COVID-19 is... What's so special about COVID-19? It's an infectious disease caused by SARS-CoV-2, a virus closely related to the SARS virus. The disease is the cause of the 2019 through 2020 coronavirus outbreak. It's primarily spread between people by small droplets from infected individuals where they breathe or cough. Time from exposure to onset of symptoms can be between 2 and 14 days. That's another thing about this virus that makes it very contagious is you don't actually notice that you have the virus for up to 2 weeks. So that makes it so it spreads a lot faster, and it's untraceable because people coughed when they were outside, and then some people got it like on a door handle, and that makes the spread faster because they just don't know they don't know they're infected for a longer period of time. That's scary. What else can we say about this? Hand washing, maintaining distance from people coughing or sneezing, as well as avoiding touching one's face is recommended to prevent the disease. We're all going to start looking like Chinese here pretty soon with the face masks on. Now you understand why the Chinese wear the face masks, right? They're not just germaphobes. There's so many people there. It's just so easy to spread viruses around in that kind of environment that it's kind of like a necessity. I don't know. To me, it's a total turnoff. If I see a chick with the face mask on, like, I'm not trying to hit on that chick, dude. Like, I'm not. Like, it's just... So, maybe you just got to put up with being sick, and maybe if you are sick, wear a face mask, and then I'll know not to hit on you, but... I don't know. My gut tells me if the woman's wearing gloves and a face mask, she's probably crazy. But, if you have a job that you're required to be at work, it's completely understandable if you would wear a face mask, right? What else can we say about this coronavirus? Causes multi-organ failure, pneumonia-like symptoms. May have to be on supportive care. The case fatality rate is estimated at between 1 to 3. So just to scare people, let's just use a higher estimate of 3, because then, we can say that it's 1 to 3, but let's, it can get worse or it can get better, and until it gets better, let's just say that it's worse. Because that's the safer thing for us to do at this point in time. World Health Organization and U.S. Center for Disease Control recommended that persons who suspect they've been carrying a virus wear a surgical face mask and seek medical advice by calling doctors rather than directly visiting a clinic in person. Masks are not recommended for the general public. Especially right now, we're in an emergency short supply. Don't just be like putting on masks and then not actually using them and then causing other people to not have masks because we need 300 million masks, right? So let's think about everybody else here and not just be a hypochondriac. Next article from New York Post. Coronavirus could lead to U.S. Olympics 2020 being canceled. IOC member Dick Pound. Oh, damn. Dude, I wonder if he's a player. Dude, if I... That's like a porn star name, dude. Dick Pound. A senior member of the International Olympics Committee Tuesday that said Tuesday that if it proves too dangerous to hold the Olympics in Tokyo this summer because of the coronavirus outbreak, organizers are likely to cancel it altogether, to postpone or move it. Wow. Have we ever had a canceled Olympics? Let's look this up. I don't know anything about this magazine. I don't know if they're a source. Wouldn't be the. Okay. So it says it wouldn't be the first time, right? So. Oh, for the Zika outbreak. So they talked about it. Did they cancel that? Or were they canceled due to health concerns? So this would make it the first. Maybe, I don't know. I can't tell you. I don't know if that's a legitimate source. They don't seem to have a news. I don't seem to have NewsGuard installed. Yeah, if you want to know how to get good verification on news stories, I'm sorry. What? Oh, it is on there. It was there. It was hiding. NewsGuard. They'll tell you whether or not news sources are legitimate. How many have ever been canceled? As of 2008, there have been 5 canceled Olympic Games. The 1916 Summer Games were canceled due to World War I. 1940 Winter and Summer Games, and the 1944 Winter and Summer Games were canceled due to World War II. That would make a lot of sense. What's the next story? Why are so many original Housewives cast members leaving the show? Newsweek is pretty garbagey a lot of times. Like, how could any journalist put this in the news category? Well, it's probably an ad. Let's call it like it is. This is why you can't trust the media. Next article from Reuters Politics, surging Sanders to be in crosshair. Oh, I already covered that. Next one from New York Post. Conservative group hires German teen Nomi Seibert to rival Greta Thunberg's climate views. A U.S. think tank with ties to Trump administration has tapped Naomi Seibert, 19, who touts climate realism over climate alarmism to represent its views, according to the Washington Post, that is run by Jeff Bezos and the Jeff Bezos machine. Naomi Seibert versus Greta Thunberg, who would we trust? The Illinois-based conservative and libertarian Heartland Institute asked in a video referring to the 17-year-old Swedish climate activist. James Taylor, director of the Arthur R. Robinson Center for Climate Environmental Change at the Institute of Seibert. Sorry, I'm murdering the pronunciation of that. A fantastic voice for free markets and for climate realism, the newspaper reported. During the UN climate conference in Madrid in December, Heartland headlines Seibert at its forum, where Taylor described her as its star. And in January, the Institute hired her to represent its climate skepticism campaign about global warming, according to its news outlet. I'm trying to get down to where it shows what her opinion is, if they show it. Thunberg, who was named Time Magazine's Person of the Year last year, has exonerated world leaders for their failure to stop carbon emission. No, not exonerated. Sorry. Excoriated. what does that word mean? Excoriate means to censor strongly, to denounce, to criticize something harshly. Why on earth do we care about this term? I don't know. It's better to use normal words. You just completely derailed everything trying to look up the word. Has excoriated world leaders in their failure to stop carbon emissions. I want you to panic, she said at the World Economic Forum in Switzerland last year. Yeah, that's a red flag. I want you to panic. That's not what she should have said. That's the entire point of what the Republicans are saying, is that they're in panic mode. People have been saying the end of the world is coming for hundreds of years. After a while, it starts to become wolf. You just stop to you stop paying attention to it after a while. So it's a danger. It's like, that's one thing where the Republicans are a little bit more realistic, because it's like, how are you going to shut the entire economy down? Like, that right there is a mind-bogglingly complex thing, because you have to, in order to actually shut our economy down, you actually have to actually shut the entire economy down, and I'll show you why here. Sorry, I should keep the window open. The reason why is because this. And this is from Walmart. The statistics. If you're going to trust a place to get business statistics about the economy, Walmart's probably one of the best places, because they have a financial interest in doing so. And so this thing says women control more than 60% of all personal wealth in the U.S. Women account for 85% of all consumer purchases. And that, can you please get this thing out of my way? That includes 91% of new homes, 92% of vacations. And the travel industry accounts for 8% of global warming output. Women buy 93% of food, man. Women aren't buying me any food. They get 2/3 of the cars, the new cars. They're making 80% of the healthcare purchases. So there's just absolutely no physical possible way that women can possibly be underpaid in the United States. Whatever they've been saying is absolute BS. Because why? Women control almost 2/3 of the wealth in the country. And you can just use the 2/3 metric, because that share is estimated to go up. So by the time it actually becomes common knowledge, the share will be spot on accurate. It's like 62%. So it's, it's easy, just too easy to say 2/3. And 2/3 doesn't mean it's exactly 2/3. It's about 2/3, and half doesn't have to be exactly half. It can be about half. There's a lot of good, empowering statistics on here. I would empower you, if you are a feminist, hate watching me, to go through here and look at these statistics, because there's a lot of things that really just are empowering to women in these statistics. 91% of women feel that advertisers don't understand them. No, they understand you perfectly right. They just know how to sell you things, and you don't understand how they work. Right. You got to rephrase things, dude. Rephrasing. I found rephrasing things to be an exceptionally powerful thing to do. Well, it just keeps coming back, huh? Women spend more money per shopping trip, $44.43 per trip compared to $34.81 for men. In U.S., men are shopping more than ever, while women are watching more TV than ever. So not only are the women 170 pounds on average in the United States. Yes, that's true. You just heard that right. The average weight of a woman in the United States is 170 pounds. They got 2/3 of the money. They're also working 52 minutes less per day. Don't get me wrong, I love women, right? Because they're going to be like, you're misogynist. No, misogynists treat women like they're inferior. Facts are not sexist or racist. They are facts. This is just the way it is. So not only are they're really, really big, they're working way less. They have way more money than us. What is their ratio of college degrees here? So now women have made substantial strides in recent decades and now surpass men in both college enrollment and completion. 44% of women ages 18 to 24 were enrolled in college, as opposed to just 38% of men. 36% of women ages 25 to 29 had bachelor's degree, as opposed to only 28% of men. And this is really bad for women because women inherently like to date up, and there's everything right about that. Because guys just don't give a shit. There's a lot of times, like, if you let the guys just go without having to like do anything for the women, dude, like they'll just like be living in a cave and like doing some like weird stuff, like running around naked in the woods with some like half leather straps on with mud all over them, like sounding like an animal or something. So there's nothing wrong with women dating up. Right? At least it keeps it on your toes, but there's a problem. There's not enough men for these women to date up to. They're not doing so well in the economy. They're getting pushed out on the streets. Women account for approximately 58% of students in 2 to 4 year colleges. Overall, 140 women graduated in 2013 with a college degree at some entry level for every 100 men. Women earned 61.6% of all associate's degrees, 56.7% of all bachelor's degrees, 59.9% of all master's degrees. And the reason why these women are actually getting this much, why they're this much ahead is because people want to study with them because they're good looking in college. And the guys are just looked at like they're providers. And if you can't provide, which most college students can't, then you're out. Like they're gonna go hook up with some older dude who has a good job, and then they're gonna go through a string of them and then feel empty because they're not connected to any of them because they want to date somebody their own age. So those statistics don't look good. So what does that have to do with this? In order for our economy to, if we would actually reverse this trend of women controlling 85% of this economy, this massive 85% number here, it would shut our economy down. So like we're at the mercy of the women. We're 100% at the mercy of women. There's nothing that we can do as men other than stop buying them so much stuff, because they control about 2/3 of the wealth. So why are you buying them stuff? Next article from Newsweek. Wait, what? I need to close on what I was going to say about this. I totally support. I didn't understand why the Republicans felt the way they did until I talked with some of the older Republicans myself, and they just told me about how their whole life they'd been saying, like, everybody's going to die from nuclear annihilation or the hole in the ozone layer or this or that, and then you just tune it out So you do have to recognize that that's a legitimate aspect of human philosophy. You do have to be realistic. How are we going to shut the machines down, and how are we going to not collapse our economy in the process? I'm glad they have somebody who's over 18. She's 19, so we can officially say she's hot. Okay, although she might be underage and 18 in that picture, so then maybe I shouldn't say it, but you know what? She's 19, so we can say it. Next article from New York Post. Ariana Grande concert bomber reportedly made practice run at That Take Show. Surveillance footage caught Solomon Abedi going to the Manchester Arena in May 2017 to scope out crowds at a concert by British bomb band Take that a jury heard. Concert bomber. And did this guy shoot up the place too? So yeah, I remember that was the concert in England that Wingnut shot up. Now that shit sucks. Wasn't he a Muslim? Yeah. I'm not going to say anything offensive about Muslims. But hey, is it okay if we just like talk, bring. See, this is the fundamental problem with liberalism. And a lot of it is you can kind of forgive because they just have good intentions, but you have to look at the system in terms of the cons of the system. You can't just look in terms of what are all the benefits of the system. And liberalism often causes people to just support things just because it's popular, because it feels good, because they have a good job, and to them they have money. And so they're like, oh yeah, I have plenty of money. We could spend money all day. It doesn't matter. But that's not really actually the way the world works. You can't just throw money at the government and actually fix problems. That doesn't actually work. The governments are like designed to have like 40% waste on them at least. At least. I mean, sometimes like 2/3 waste, maybe even 75, even 90, 99% waste just to get one little part for the spaceship, right? And it turns out a lot of those parts actually ended up not being anywhere near as good as just plain old steel, as Elon Musk has proven with his badass Starship. What is that thing called? I forget what it's called. What is it called? Sorry, I'm looking it up. Elon Musk man. Sorry. Got my AI homework here. What is this thing called? It's interplanetary transport system, and it's the ITS. Is it the Starliner? Yeah, Starliner. No, that's the other one. That was the Starliner. Sorry, taking too long here. It's always hard to find stuff when you're like rushing. All I see here is Dragon cancel. Is the Boeing Starliner? So that's the Boeing one, was the Starliner. So that wasn't the Elon Musk one. go to SpaceX.com, right? Falcon Heavy and Starship. He just called it Starship. That's the one. Next article here from the New York Post. CDC urges Americans... Sorry. I covered that in the beginning here. Yeah, go out and get face masks and get emergency food rations. Store up a whole bunch of water. Well, probably won't need the water. Yeah. I'm not going to plug for my business. I'm selling tanks of water for houses. But I don't have everything ready to sell. What's this next article here from 538? Why the establishment can't bank on moderate voters consolidating against Sanders at this point in the Democratic primary. This is from 538, sorry. At this point in the Democratic primary, none of the moderate alternatives to Senator Bernie Sanders had risen from the rest. Sanders had emerged from the first three voting contests as the race's progressive frontrunner, and voters who think Sanders is too liberal are left still with several choices. It may seem like moderate voters could consolidate behind one of the alternatives to thwart Sanders' path to the nomination. That's possible, but one thing it assumes is that voters understand politics in ideological terms, and many don't. Political scientists have long found that most of the public does not fit into a neat ideological boxes. Yes, this is why the far left and the far right are both wingnuts, because they classify people into nice little neat boxes. Like, I personally view myself as more of a conservative person, although I don't. Okay, I probably align more with conservatives than like a centrist, because I believe in a traditional family structure, and I live in Eugene, Oregon, and I've partied enough with hippies to where I'm not really like super impressed with their lifestyle. So what does that have to do with this? You couldn't really fit me into an ideological box. It would be too hard. I would probably, because like a lot of times, like people will get offended about what I say, and it's because what I said was like not hateful or anything, but then there's so much subtlety in what I said because I know a lot of things, and a lot of times things just you talk about them because it pisses people off. So people don't know whether or not you're for or against something. And so you'll say something that's kind of like talking about something like educated about it, that's like blurring the lines between, showing the similarities and dissimilarities, and then people get offended because they don't know whether or not you're for or against it. And so that is a very dangerous thing to do when people do that in mass. And people have been doing that on the internet because they don't want to take somebody else's opinion. They just think they're racist. It is because they think far right means the same thing as right, because the right is associated with racism. But this doesn't make any sense, because the Democrats were the ones that owned slaves. The Republicans were the ones that freed them. And the Democrats started the KKK. This doesn't make any sense, right? It's a European term. It doesn't make sense in America, but people think like this. So it's a dangerous thing. You shouldn't do it. I've been guilty of doing it myself in the past. Next article from Newsweek. Joe Biden says he's running for U.S. Senate, while in South Carolina, supporters say it's rhetorical. The former VP drew his ridicule from critics who said his latest flub is evidence he's too out of touch to run for president. Yeah, I'll second that one. Yep. I think he's over the hill, dude. I'm sorry, if you're retirement age and people won't hire you to be a president, a CEO of a major corporation anymore because you're 65 and you're just over the hill, and they need somebody to be in there for the long haul, 8 years. They need somebody high energy who is good at working with young people and who thinks like the young people. so that because the young people are going to take over and it's going to be their world and they have to live with it. So it is a democracy. They do need to have some say in the democracy as to what these laws that they have to live with for the rest of their life are going to be about, how the system precedence is going to be, or the court precedence. Yeah. But Donald Trump is way over the hill, and he took 80%, got illegal immigration down 80%, so old people aren't that bad. What's this next story? It's from Reuters. It says, Senator Rubio confident Trump administration will extend Florida offshore drill banning. U.S. Senator Marco Rubio on Tuesday said it was confident the administration of President Donald Trump will extend a ban on oil and gas drilling off Florida, despite its enthusiasm for opening much of the country's coast to petroleum development. I'm not a big fan of drills near like water. I don't think that we should do it. Can't really just shut our system down. I don't really have an educated opinion on that, so I'm not going to try to pretend like I should, like I do know. I'm just saying that I just feel like, maybe we shouldn't be drilling so much oil. Maybe we shouldn't be doubling the output of our oil at the time when global warming is happening, because that's just crazy. But they know the end is nigh, and that's why they're trying to dump as much oil on the market as they can. I think that's whack. This next article from New York Post. Saudi Arabian rapper Azael Say faces arrest over music video praising women from Mecca. Okay. Saudi Arabian officials are calling for the arrest of a female rapper whose new music video celebrates women from Mecca, Islam's holiest city, as powerful and beautiful. Oh my God, that's such a horrible thing to do, to portray women as powerful and beautiful. The governor of the Middle Eastern city called for the arrest of the musician, who goes by the name of Azael Slay, as well as others involved in producing the video. In a Twitter post last week, I personally think that this is kind of pathetic. This is pretty pathetic. It's like, that's just blatant misogyny. It is. A lot of people call me a misogynist because, like, I'm not a feminist, even though I used to be a feminist for most of my life. I've seen that there's too many cons in that I was not treated well by this community of people. They were just really just random people I collected on the internet, on Facebook, and they never were there. And then they want me to believe everything they believe on threat of social exclusion if I do not comply. And then they're just not there. Like, where you at? Like, like, this is blatant misogyny, though. This is actual misogyny. We see people don't understand about what. There's two kinds of misogyny. There's brutalization of women in where they're treated as subhuman, and then there are people who are disgruntled with women, and I don't think the latter camp really count. Like, if you look at the definition of misogyny, it basically means male chivalry. It means that excessive pride in being man, and that women are inferior to man. That would be what this is. That's male chauvinism. And treating the women as if they're inferior. That I am morally against. I just don't treat people bad. And that's why these feminists are kind of on the internet that are like trolling people and like hurling out all these insults. Like, they're ignorant. they're hateful. They're just like spewing out these things because it's like what you have to understand is what precedents you're setting when you have things like this. When you say you can't not support feminism. This is the same. Not feminism. Not becomes the authoritarian in the other country like this. That becomes the authoritarian dictator because you can't go against it. If you go against it, then you're outcasted from society and your power is taken away, which is what you do in authoritarian societies. So it starts out that it's like taking free speech. Like in Europe, first they were a bunch of nice people who wanted to say, hey, you know, we don't need to be saying hate speech stuff anyways. So like we'll just ban hate speech and then everything will be fine, magically fine. And then the problem is that later on, different generations of people don't hold the same values as you. And so what you've done is you've set a precedence here that you can't speak out against the authority. And then it slowly shifts from feminism to a more authoritarian anti-feminist thing because feminism isn't very popular at all. So it's very easy to shift this 1984-ish European liberal anti-free speech mentality, like whenever the population changes, because they've been taking on so many economic migrants that soon Europe is going to be minority white and the Muslims are going to be the majority of the people there. And then it naturally transfers from a ban of hate speech into Sharia law because most of the Muslims want Sharia law. They don't want to integrate with the society. And so it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous to ban speech because it will only be used against you. This precedence, right now it's used against them, but soon it will be used against you. So this is the danger. This is the absolute perilous danger that we face, is that we perilous. Did I say the right word? A journey full of peril. That's what I'm trying to say. Should I kind of derailed my thought there? Sorry, I won't do that again. So these precedents that we take with taking away people's free speech is just it's never going to go good. It's going to be used against you. They're in this particular situation, the Muslims are using it against this woman, but later on, this will be used against other people for other things. It's a precedence that you set. When people get used to stuff like this, then it becomes normalized. Whenever it becomes normalized, well, we got problems. So this is why this is one of the biggest problems with liberalism, with the feminism that doesn't allow other cultures to exist. Feminism is bigoted by its very nature. It's against the other philosophy. It is, by the very nature of feminism, it is a bigoted ideology because it says the other ideology is inferior to feminist ideology, and that feminist ideology is the only ideology that should be allowed to be in public. This is a natural slippery slope into fascism because people just don't understand that Nazis were actually socialists. They were called National Socialists, but people say, "Oh no, they didn't kill the Jews because they were socialists. They killed the Jews because they were nationalists." That doesn't make any sense. They killed the Jews because they were racist, because they had a war. First, it was just going to be a forced labor camp, like the gulags in the communist countries, but then at the end of the war, they didn't know what to do with them, so they just started killing them. It's a slippery slope. And with the with the liberals, they want to put the Republicans in concentration camps. They want to put them in gulags because they hate them because they think the right is racist. Well, the whole time it turns out the Democrats were the ones who started the KKK and owned slaves. And it's actually the other way around. So this is why we have to limit the power of the government, limit the ability of liberals to do anything, because they will completely wingnut it. They will do the most crazy, bizarre thing that you've ever seen in your entire life. People will just go with it because it's mob mentality. And if you speak out against it, then they'll come out against you. They'll shut you down. They'll take away your power. They'll ostracize you. They will harass you. They'll bully you. You won't be able to show your face in this town again if you speak out against them. This isn't the America that I want to live in. It's not. I want to live in this free speech America where people don't hate each other. And for you forgiving me for all of the stupid shit that I've said that I apologize for, I in turn will forgive you for all of the stupid shit that you say and do. So it's mutual, right? So it benefits both of us. But that is all of the time that I have for today. It's 1 hour and 1 minute and 30 seconds into this live stream. It's only an hour, so I am going to take off. You've been watching Kale McCullough, captain of the Kabuki Starship, read you RSS news and comment and criticize it. And I'm pretty anti-woke, so I guess you would call this IDW. But I don't like labels because every group of people turns into a shit fest, so I'm not going to be labeled with y'all. I'm going my own way, man. But until next time, thank you for watching. This has been Kale McCullough. And until next time, farewell, sayonara, aloha, and